I'm going to call this meeting to order. It is Monday, August 27th, 2012, 6 o'clock p.m. All board members are here except for Ms. Ware. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. If you would, all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have an agenda before us. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor then of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. It's approved. First section tonight is information, proposals, comments from the audience. First we have the director of the Cape Public School Foundation, Ms. Amy McDonald, making a presentation regarding Procter & Gamble scholarship.
My name is Amy McDonald, and I'm with Cape Public School Foundation, and this is Abed Abokadair, and he will be speaking tonight about the Mission Possible Team Scholarship Program that we have awarded this year.
Hey, how's everybody doing today?
Good.
Great. So, Procter & Gamble, P&G is pleased to announce a $2,500 scholarship for our Mission Possible team winner, Mr. Sushil Sopti. This scholarship is basically given to a Mission Possible team member that has completed high school and is basically going to be in the engineering or science and technology field. So this program is geared towards 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. I'll kind of just read through a little bit of the background information behind it. So this program awards a scholarship to a past participant of the Mission Possible team. The scholarship provides the winner with a one-time award of $2,500 for full-time study at an accredited college or university. Mr. Sushil Sopti was awarded this scholarship the past year. Congratulations to Mr. Sushil. He wasn't here today, and to his parents, Ms. Prem and Sonia Supti. Sushil was involved in varsity swimming, tennis, FBLA, Scholar Bowl, Spanish Club, National Honor Society, Boy Scouts, volunteering for United Way and the Southeast Hospital, and played the alto saxophone. He was also selected to represent CHS at the Southeast Missouri State University's Math Field Day competition. His honors and awards include salutatorian, Scholastic Honor Roll, 2-time state qualifier for FBLA, varsity swimming, and tennis. Mr. Sushil will be attending Washington University in St. Louis, majoring in biomedical engineering. So again, we want to congratulate Sushil Sopti. P&G is, again, and this is an annual thing, we're going to be giving $2,500 to any Mission Possible team person that graduates from CHS. So again, congratulations.
I think, are we going to get a picture?
Yes, please.
Mr. Robertson?
And Dr. Cowan, would you like to come up, please, and be in this photograph?
I guess everyone realizes Sushil is safely in Washington University.
It seems so. I'd just like to add that I know the program that you all do is really, really great, and a lot of kids really benefit tremendously from it. Thank you for what you do for not only them, but with the scholarship. That's amazing.
We appreciate what you do in supporting our school system and the students. So thank you very much.
Next we have an update from McCarthy Construction.
Right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Pedger. I'm a superintendent with McCarthy. I'll give you a quick update of where we're at construction-wise throughout the district. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me at any time. We have 5 projects that are pretty similar in the stage of construction. Franklin Elementary, the Central Middle School addition and renovation, the junior high school library addition and the kitchen renovation, as well as the Central High School classroom addition, all of which were completed. We do have substantial completion certificates and certificate of occupancies for all of those projects. We have had our final inspections, and we are currently moving through the punch list items and addressing those on a daily basis. The district move-in was completed and has been completed on schedule, and we continue to maintain a presence at all of these projects just to make sure that any construction-related issues that do come up, that they get addressed promptly and effectively. Franklin demolition, currently we are in the process of removing the last remaining foundation portion of the existing school. Probably by mid next week we should be complete with the removal of the school, after which we'll finish the grading, and then we'll start the site work package, which includes the final landscaping, includes the asphalt paving and such. So Franklin demolition is moving forward as scheduled. No issues there. The Performing Arts project, in our last construction schedule update, we are projecting a completion date around mid-January. We are finalizing or finishing the sequence 3 structural steel, which is the final steel portion of the building. Right now, we are roofing the auditorium, which is a major milestone in the fact that we are able to start high work inside the auditorium, which is our critical path. So the sooner we can start that, the sooner we can get moving there. You'll see exterior-wise, the south stud work and sheathing is ongoing right now. The west or the east side is finishing, so we're getting enclosed. You'll see a big hole as you drive by on the east side of the building, and that hole will remain there for the next 3 months. It's our access for our lifts inside the building. There'll be a lot of high work going on, so we'll be pushing that as best we can. Other than that, at the Performing Arts, we continue in the back of house areas, the lobbies, the bathrooms, the changing rooms with interior studs and blocking. We'll be drywalling those areas here shortly. But we are currently pouring the balcony, so you'll probably mid next week we should be finished with the concrete and the balcony as well. And district-wide, we do have security, the security system up and running at the high school, at the junior high school and the middle school, and those seem to be functioning well. We are working through the security at Franklin Elementary as we speak. Johnson Controls, district-wide, we're in good position there. We're just doing some final touches with the graphics and getting the automation system finely tuned. And then the fire alarm system at all the projects have been turned over. We got the fire marshal to sign off on all of them, no issues there. The last remaining building that needs to be monitored or turned over is this building here, the Alternative Education Center. So, and that should occur here in the next week or so. But that's really it as far as a construction update. I do know that Neil passed around a list of items, alternates that have been accepted, and I guess we can review that.
Chris and I decided to tag team this tonight. Chris and his guys have done a fantastic job over the summer trying to get us into these buildings. It's been a tough summer. We had a lot released this summer, with Franklin being the major one. Moving an old school into a new school was a major undertaking, but thanks to Teen Challenge, the maintenance workers, custodial help, and McCarthy Construction, we got it done. And 2.5 months' time. It was a lot of work. What we would like to go over tonight, Ms. Kinder had requested a little overview of what alternates were in the master facility plan that we were able to pick off through this bond issue. And basically what I did was cut and pasted from the master facility plan into this document, building by building, of what we addressed. And, I'll answer any questions you have at the end, but this was taken as of January 13th, 2010. And at that time, this is what was identified in that master facility plan. In Jefferson, we were able to address the sanitary sewer line replacement, basically because when we got into construction, it was damaged, pretty much needed, it had to be. It was non-negotiable. It had to be addressed at that time. If you see an asterisk by any of those line items, that just means that it was partially done. We were able, maybe like floor tile, we were able to address the library, but maybe not all the classrooms. Well, we didn't address all the classrooms. We just couldn't do that. Elma Schroeder, we were able to take care of the rooftop unit replacement at the library and the office, and a couple floor tile replacements in the corridor areas.
So if they're not bolded or asterisk, we didn't do them.
That's right. Because at that time, we were going to come back and wait to see if we had the funds to do that. Because if you look at it, those other items were basically plug and play. We could do them at any time. The items that are bolded typically are a result of construction. We really needed to do it at the time of construction.
So this is a complete list of what the alternates were?
That's everything that was on our alternate list of the master facility plan.
Gotcha.
As of January 13th. Now, obviously, we're 3 years down or 2 years down the line, and we've got additional needs now, but that's for another bond issue. Clippard, we did a little bit of ceiling replacement at the corridor areas. Middle school, the student resource services and resource areas, where the principal's offices were, we were able to remodel that entire area. We were able to include some ADA accessible bathrooms down the corridor. At the high school, we accepted the temperature control package, which is basically your building automation controls. We accepted the additional 6 classrooms. We accepted the balcony area, which provided the additional seating. The stadium complex, we accepted the artificial turf system. And at the stadium complex, we went ahead and did the visitors bleacher section. At the junior high, we installed the corridor through the library. We renovated 4 classrooms out of that old library space. We were able to do the kitchen remodel and install a corridor through the teacher's lounge, which was much needed. At the junior high also, that 500-seat bleacher system, we weren't able to replace it, but we did refurbish it with new boards, new paint. We put new bolts and screws and everything else in it. It really looks 1,000% better. But that's what we were able to pick off that was identified in the master facility plan as an alternate. Any questions on that?
Yeah, Jim, jump in here too, if you can. Just curious about where you go from here. When everything's wrapped up, how you look at this list and then proceed, into the future planning for what else needs to be done.
Well, if you look at phase 2 on the master facilities plans, it states in there everything that wasn't captured in this existing bond issue would be part of the new facility plan, and that's where I plan to go from here. Go out to the buildings, visit with the buildings, and start the process all over again, basically like we did from day one, where you identify the needs, we look at the direction that the district's growing, and we address it from there. Again, we'll reconvene possibly a new steering committee or invite the old members back, those that are available. But we'll start the entire process over again.
Yeah, I think basically, we take a look at these items and evaluate those items, as well as go back and do an assessment of each of the buildings again in terms of our needs, and then start building that priority list again. as we've been able to do a lot of things over the last several years with the bond issue, we now need to look at what our priorities are at this point, including those things that were left over and new needs that we now have that have come up since that time. So I think we'll start that process over again.
We've come a long ways.
As we're getting closer to finalizing all of our projects, is there any anticipated reserves left that could still address any of these, or are we probably fully exhausting what we have to complete what?
That's been a challenge in itself, is spending those, you spend $40 million down to a zero balance is tough in itself. I don't feel comfortable releasing any more funds until we know where the performing arts lands, because we're still 6 months out for that. So that's held in a contingency right now, but I don't foresee anything. I think we've picked off about all we're going to pick off, and I think we're going to land about where we need to be. I really do. I feel comfortable.
What are you going to do if you come up short?
Do what?
What are you going to do if you come up short?
That's not going to happen, right, Chris?
Absolutely.
Do you anticipate being able to start that process this school year, or?
I would. I'd like to do that. First and foremost on my agenda is addressing the safety plan, and then after I get that safety plan where we want it, I think that will segue right into the facility plan, making sure we capture everything.
It is exciting to see these projects now as we get close to the end, and appreciate all the hard work that everybody did over the summer to get the projects completed in time for school start. And
me too.
That was quite a challenge, and appreciate everybody for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that report. Next is the APR report from Dr. Sherry Coker.
Okay, and you have that in your packet on Board Central. And basically, APR this year, we are in a transition period from 4th cycle MSIP to 5th cycle. So this report, the numbers associated with this report will change a little bit in end of October, probably November. So we will get new numbers for our MSIP 5, which we're moving to. On there, I did the same format that I did last year, so you can tell on each content area performance standard whether we went up or down from last year. And basically, the arrows meant that our performance index was either up or down, not necessarily the met, not met. So if you see, like on the first one, met, and you see that it went down, that means the performance index, and it's not necessarily the status, which on that one was H2, meaning high 2. And I did give you a chart on the first page. At the bottom, the status measures whether that was high 1, high 2, average, below average, or floor. This year on APR, if we're using 4th cycle standards, it would be, we had 11 out of 14 METs. And I did note in there that's down 1 point from last school year. Do you have any questions about this report?
Which point did we, was there just one that we?
Yes, there was one, and it was the career ed placement numbers. The career ed placement, that means, so when the kids that are involved in any type of vocational coursework, that once they graduate, did they go into the military? Were they in a field that was related to the coursework they took? And that went down. I contacted the CTC and asked them about it. They are not tracking all the kids for these courses. Some of it is with the high school now. And so the high school's tracking some, career ed, the Career Tech Center tracks some. But Libby Williams assured me that the numbers that she looked at, that it was right, that we did go down. One of the explanations, I asked her what happened, and she said one of the explanations was economy, that, you know, the jobs just were not out there for those kids.
We have no control over jobs they take, right?
We have no control over the economy, darn it.
I never understood that measurement because
right.
Once they leave the
the high school out there, you can't tell them where to go work, can you? I've never understood that when you go there.
But the military does count as part of it also.
What courses do they take to go to school?
All courses. Core, algebra.
Any other questions? Thanks for the report. Okay. Sorry. All right. Next, we have program evaluations. Dr. Copeland, first with testing schedule and assessment program. Okay. And then with summer school.
You have testing schedule first? Okay, the testing program? Yes. Okay, on the strengths of the testing program itself is that I think we have a variety of assessments that we use to address our students' need. Probably as we work in this PLC process and going forward, there will be more emphasis put on, I would say, ongoing progress monitoring, so that quick assessment to see where kids are every single day instead of just not at the end of a benchmark or the end of a semester or the year. We do have common benchmarks in K through 8th grade that were developed by our teachers actually to assess what the students are learning at a certain point in time. So we have pacing charts. So how much should the student, they came up with how much should the student know by October, and then how much should they know by December, how much should they know by March, how much should they know at the end. So we set those benchmarks, and so how the standards associated with that material, that's what we are testing the kids over to make sure that we're on track. Okay, and obviously Teresa Hinkebine, she chairs the local assessment committee, and being the curriculum coordinator, that is a very big plus too, because you want to make sure that your assessments are tied to the curriculum. We have a really good aligned curriculum. We want to make sure that we're assessing what we're teaching. Okay. Concerns, we have met with all of the principals this year, or this last week. It seemed like a year, but it was the last week, and went over data with them. So if you look at especially the difficulty in keeping track of trends on local assessments, as our State Department was fluctuate on requirements, and our target areas were moving up. Now with the waiver, those target areas were not there, so we were not penalized as such for not necessarily meeting that standard, which was, and Teresa, 83 in Com Arts and 81 in math, correct? So we obviously did not hit those targets, but we were not penalized for that. The stress level from the staff is always a concern on tests, worrying about whether their kids will measure up and how to make students aware that these tests are important for us and for themselves. The DRA and benchmark assessments, we found out, are not consistently predictors of state assessment scores. I think even before I came here, you had asked if those were indicators before, and without a doubt we have looked and they are not. So that's something that we are working on. The DRA specifically, after meeting with the principals, there's a concern on the length of the DRA and the subjectivity, as well as there is some bias to that test, especially at the 6th through 8th grade level. Okay, inconsistency of data from assessments to drive instruction for individual students. Again, as we move through the PLC process, we'll start using data individually in the classroom to use those formative assessments to drive instruction. Because those formative assessments will tell the teacher if the teacher is on track in their teaching to the students. Are the students learning? And we'll catch that before the end of a unit or the end of a benchmark or the end of a semester. So that day in, day out formative assessment to make sure the kids are on track for their learning. And then we are using, again, we have limited use of formative assessments and pre-assessments. That's something that is on our radar to work on this year. Not only the formative assessments of quick and easy, whether we're using clicker systems or thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever type of formative assessment, but the pre-assessment also. We do not have widespread use of pre-assessments. That's something that we will be working on this year to actually assess the students before they even hit the unit. I saw a really good example at Alma Schroeder the very first day of school in a 4th grade classroom, and the teacher was handing out a pre-assessment, but made no big deal about it. The way she did that is that she told the student, she goes, I have something I need you to fill out, and it's really just to help me do my lesson plans, because I need to know what you know before I can even know what to teach you. So she didn't call it a test. She didn't call it an assessment. There was no pressure. You know, I just need to know what you know so that I can teach. So it was pretty powerful. And I thought, wow, that really made my day on the first day of school. And then the other concern that I had was the number of days taken away from instruction for the administration and scoring of assessments, especially those big assessments. And it takes a lot out of our instructional time. Whereas if we're using our formative assessments and our common assessments to drive instruction, those might not be quite as necessary, except for the state assessment we'll always have to do. Okay, any questions about the concerns first? Yes?
With the implementation of the one-to-one initiative, would that assist in doing more up-to-date formative?
Oh, definitely, definitely. In the course I was teaching, I did one last Monday night with adults, of course, but I had it on my iPad and turned my iPad into a learner response system, and they all had smartphones. So I had them download an app for free, and so I threw the question, it went right to their iPhone, they answered it, and I saw results right then. So I left it open for maybe 10 seconds. I left the window for them to answer 10 seconds, and then it came back to me, and I emailed myself the results. So I had the individual results on each person in the classroom, where they were at that time. That was my pre-assessment for my class. So in answer to you, using technology could always help in assessment, because a lot of times, like the Moodle, like you've been hearing us talk about Moodle, we can put assessments in Moodle where Moodle will grade the assessment, so the teacher's not spending all their time grading. Any other questions?
Are these assessments compatible with that type of system? Rather than a paper fill in the dot type system, are they compatible?
With what? Which
electronic.
Oh, with which assessments are you talking about? Any of these?
Any of our tests.
Oh, any of our tests? Not right now, but the teachers, like I said, so many teachers have Moodle now, and we have more signing up all the time. But anytime that they do have a Moodle page, obviously they can put an assessment in. As far as the state test, we already are doing those tests electronically in the secondary level. Those are on computer. That's why we have those scores back almost immediately.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Is that it? Yes.
You talk about the DRA being perhaps time-consuming stuff. Have you established any kind of timeline on when you decide, we're throwing that away, or we're going to keep doing it?
Well, and I get. Do you want to address that, or do you want me to? I don't.
Go ahead.
After meeting with all the principals, and there was a huge concern, and it bothered me. that, and I was made aware of one question in particular that really bothered me, and it was at the 8th grade level, but it's in that range, that 6 to 8 level. There's a question on the DRA that actually asked the student in the last 2 months, you know, how many books did you read? What was the genre? Who was the author? Now, keep in mind, those tests are given right at the beginning of school. So that means the student had to read over the summer. Our libraries were not open during the summer. A lot of those kids from certain areas of town were not able to go to the public library to check out a book. Their parents were not able to take them to a Barnes & Noble or Target, wherever they're, Walmart, to get them a book, or didn't have the funds to do that. So those students were at a clear disadvantage, and the scoring on that question alone would be enough to lower that student's grade level, one whole grade level on the DRA. So that when you talk about test bias, that would be a bias for that. So with that in mind, after talking with the principals, we made the decision to suspend the DRA at the middle school and junior high for this year, so we can do the research, because we were just testing to give a test instead of testing really to drive instruction on that, because it wasn't correlating with anything. Okay.
Is that the typical question?
No, that's part of the DRA. That's a question in the DRA.
That's a hard question to score.
And I think you saw, that was one thing. When you look down at the bullet, the length and subjectivity of the DRA, the subjectivity, it depends on who scores the test, on what the kids, even though they have a rubric, it's hard, because teacher A, I may have a student and I go, oh, wow, they're really nice. I know they know that answer, so I'm going to give them credit where another teacher might not. So it's and even the administration of it differs from teacher to teacher. It shouldn't, but it does.
I imagine they're really precise with the titles of the books, too.
Exactly. I don't know if I'd know the authors of the books this summer.
We are using some other methods
Yes.
then to assess what we need to know about students' reading ability.
Yes.
Since we're not using the DRA at that level, right?
We're using running records, right. And they have assured both principals they're going to do that with fidelity. That's the other thing that was missing from that by getting rid of the DRA, we wouldn't have that fluency piece for the kids. So we have to have something that measures that piece. Okay. And then program goals, and developing our assessment program, again, through this, and I know we keep saying PLC, but our assessment process will change as we go through this PLC process. So I'm really looking forward to that development. And also the data team training, which actually affects at that classroom level. And that's where we really need to strengthen our assessments. All teachers should be using those assessments to drive instruction. But we are going through that training, and that will help us know the individual student needs and then be able to differentiate our instruction to meet those needs, whether that's an at-risk student or a gifted child. Because what we don't want to get caught up in is teaching to the middle. And, they are leaving our gifted kids out. And typically we're really good on, especially through Dina's department, on that tier 3 instruction. But we really need to shore up our tier 1, obviously, our base core instruction, and then the assessments in that core. Also, we are going to provide professional development to increase the use of formative assessments. And it's not the teacher's fault, it's just they do not have the tools in their tool bag right now. So we are looking to increase that. Even with the subs the other day, when I trained them, I taught them 2 formative assessment techniques for them to use when they're in the classroom. So I think it's that we all have that same message going out to kids. And also to use pre-assessments. Because if I give a pre-assessment and 80% of the kids hit mastery on it, I probably do not need to take 2 weeks and bore all 80% of the kids with that instruction. I need to find different activities for those kids who already know it, and then just focus my direct instruction on the students who didn't know it. Okay. Any questions? Next is summer school. We did have a decrease in enrollment over last year. We still are having, at our elementary level, we're doing a jump start of the school year for summer school. So they started at the end of July and went into August for summer school. And we are still seeing really good results from the teachers saying those kids are so much better prepared to come to school having that jump start. Now, the downside is trying to get the kids back here after they, at least if you keep them going when the school year stops, you know, they're used to it. But trying to get them back, and not all parents want them to come back early. So, but it does help those students. And other than that, if you look at the improvements that were made or that were successfully completed summer school, and at the high school level and at the alt school, we're using that for credit recovery. The strengths of the program, we offer meals to the kids. So for some of those kids who do not get, would not get lunch during the summer, we do provide a lunch for them. We did provide transportation for the alternative school, the high school, and the elementary buildings. And it helps the high school kids, as we said, complete credits towards graduation. Concerns, attendance is always an issue. I talked with Dr. Kofeld, who ran the elementary program, and I told her in order to bump up hers right now, it's invitation only at the elementary school, and I told her that we should open that up next year. Not only have invitation only, but once we see that the numbers aren't full, go ahead and open it up and let other students attend. Because just because that lower student I know they need summer school, but even those kids, even in the middle, are lacking certain things, and we can test them. We have implemented iReady this school year, and Teresa Hinkebine has been working very diligently with getting that set up. And Teresa, it's starting this week, right? Right. So iReady is an electronic software where the kids can set at the computer, and it assesses them and tells us exactly where that student is, if they're scoring in the lowest percentiles. And I believe we have 50 or 95 licenses per elementary building. 95 licenses that will tell us a prescription for that child, what that student needs, because the program is reading where the student is weak, and then it'll tell them where we need. But we will be able to run that during the summer too, so constantly assessing those students. The funding prohibits a librarian or a computer lab teacher, which we could use those for enrichment activities. And then funds prohibit us from offering pre-K, which would be such a help to offer it, to start working with those pre-K students. The goals is to have all students performing on or above grade level, include enrichment activities, if in a perfect world we could do that. We need to work on getting more students to attend summer school, and then we are still continuing our analysis of doing that Jump Start program, and we committed to that program for 3 years. So next year will be our last year, and then we will reevaluate, looking at the data from before we started offering it as a Jump Start to actually offering it as Jump Start. Any questions about summer school?
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
I have a question about pre-K. Does that mean you just have additional students, or taking the same students?
We
bring
would,
them over the summer.
yeah, we would have those students that are coming into pre-K. Okay, and we would bring them in so to really help them, because we have students that do not know their name, they've never held a pencil before. So working on those skills that, you know, can really help them.
And I thought our pre-K system that we have in now was very beneficial.
Oh, yes.
So
Yes.
it's hard for me to figure what more you could teach that you're not already covering to bring them into kindergarten.
I mean, I've worked in programs before that we actually taught the students to read through a reading program, the same one that we were using in K to 6. We started it in pre-K, so all those students were able to read by the time they got to kindergarten.
How much does it cost?
Well, you have to, the problem is with pre-K is that you can't address every single pre-K student that comes to us. Because if you look at how many kindergarten students we have, so if you figure on average 300, probably 300 students, you'd have to have enough preschools to take care of 300 students. And how many preschool classrooms are there, Dina? That can at most do 30 a day, 15 in the morning, 15 in the afternoon. But out of 300, that's, you know, a lot, not very many students.
So in fact, asking the teacher to teach on you.
Oh, for the pre-K? No, we would start that Jump Start program with them too. They would work the extra days that the K-6 work.
How do we cover the contract?
Oh, it's an additional stipend.
Just a summer stipend.
Mm-hmm.
Paul, just to offer another thought, plenty of students enter kindergarten having had at least 2 years of
Yes.
private pre-K.
They start at 3. And it sets up, if we don't catch those students and there are parents out there who do not want their child starting pre-K. So for those students coming to pre-K, and then you have students who have been in at least 1 year, maybe 2 years, 1 or more years, it sets up a real disparity.
So is this an extension of the pre-K program that's in place, or is it the same students that are already
We haven't done that yet. That's why I said we don't offer it to pre-K in summer school. It's
right,
just
but if we
kindergarten.
Would it be an extension to allow students that didn't have the opportunity to get in throughout the regular school year to have access to the program, or is it allowing the kids that are already in the program to continue that throughout the summer before they start kindergarten?
Our preschool starts at, well, except for the special ed students, but our preschool students start at 4 years old.
Right.
So it would be those students that we catch before.
What you're asking is, would that be for the existing pre-K students
right.
going into kindergarten, or would we take off the waiting list to have the opportunity? That's the question.
Right.
And I think maybe we would have to assess that as we got closer, because we typically maintain such a large waiting list. And you have some students that don't get the benefit of the whole year, because we have to look at some of those scores. If we had a few children who didn't get the full benefit or were lagging a little bit, we could bump them in, and then whatever options we had available, we could take off the waiting list.
How many are on the waiting list right now?
Right now, we have 30 on the waiting list.
Typically, when you think of summer school, you think of those students that just didn't get it throughout the regular year, or they need additional credits to move on to the next grade. But I mean, with pre-K, that's that's pushing the line pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, because they're
The definition of.
right, because they're learning the basics so they can get into kindergarten and take advantage of that. But if you've got that many on the waiting list, it would almost be more beneficial to get those kids off the waiting list, give them the opportunity to catch up so that when they enter kindergarten, they're not behind as well. So.
Right. That is true.
Thanks. Next program evaluation is transportation.
First off, I'd like to introduce our transportation director. This is Mike Patton, Director of Transportation for First Student. He's the man behind the scenes and makes all the problems go away. But that's right. In all seriousness, this is probably one of the areas that is underappreciated. They probably have some of the most difficult responsibility as any employee of our district. They're charged with transporting 2, maybe sometimes 3 classrooms at a time and get them to school safely. So if you put that in perspective, they're in charge of 60, 70, 80 students at a time and getting them to school safely and under control and still driving. And I think that's something that goes underappreciated in a lot of times. The department or the program is going pretty well. We've increased our ridership count. I left the old count on there, 1,692. We increased that to 1,808. The cost of the program actually is staying pretty much stable, especially with the economy and the price of fuel, 1.2 million. Basically, the CSIP plan goal is to provide safe and efficient transportation services. The strength of the program, they provide safe and affordable transportation. They listen and respond to concerns in a reasonable time frame. And since I've been here, I think the response time has decreased dramatically. I think they're listening to our concerns, they're responding, and I appreciate them for that. They also perform the student bus evacuation drills. I put last year's concerns on there because I just wanted you to know that they were addressed. The ridership count was a concern last year. Mike implemented a process that addressed and changed it for this school year. A procedural change implemented by First Student to conserve fuel and promote safety was identified as a concern because we get out there on the interstate and the governor's don't let us go 57 miles an hour. Mike told me to write the corporate a letter stating that we felt this was a safety concern. I did that. They responded, and they increased the governors up to 65 miles an hour. Concerns for this year, I really didn't have any concerns that were warranted to put it down on this evaluation report. They're doing a tremendous job. His right hand, Tara Bowers, has done a great job with the routes and the bus stops and coordinating that with the parents and the district's needs, and I applaud them for that. And our program goals are basically just to continue to provide safe and reliable transportation. One of the new programs that they've implemented this year is an anti-bullying campaign, which is if you see something, say something, and that's for the drivers. Don't be afraid to tell the principals, which sometimes bus drivers don't want to be vocal about things they feel like they should be able to handle on the bus, but if they see something, they need to let the administrators know. And I'll let Mike elaborate on that if you'd like.
Yeah, drivers see a lot of things on the bus, and we're told that if you see one child being bullied by another one, let me know. I can let the building principals know, or if you happen to see a lot of the principals are out there at bus time, let them know what's going on, because you guys can't deal with the problem if they don't know about it. So, and that's a major concern. We don't want anybody to be bullied on the bus. And when you've got 60, 70 kids on the bus, there's all kinds of things go on in the back of the bus that the driver is unaware of. So, we try to watch the videos of the buses. All now have cameras looking from the front to the back, and one over the driver looking up there. So that has helped a lot last year in identifying any problems.
Any questions for Mike or myself?
No question, just a couple of comments. as I was getting to talk to some of the principals, after the first couple of days of school, they just wanted to comment that they were very impressed with the schedule of the buses. That this was I think, the first year that they remembered all of the buses getting there on time. Usually there's some issues with, bus drivers learning, new routes, or new bus drivers just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
They said this year all the buses came in on time. It helped the kids get to school on time and not rushed. And so they just wanted to say thank you for all of your hard work for that. So.
I'd just like to add to that, I received one phone call the first day, and that's unheard of for me. So, thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Does somebody need to take a moment and turn something on? Okay. I heard some groove music going on. All right. Okay. We are at informational reports. First being the board president's report. I just wanted to say that I have heard a huge number of compliments regarding our students and their dress and their appearance, and wanted to thank them and their families for the most part, it seems being very.
I can make a comment on that. I've
Yes.
been out to the schools. I've been amazed at how the kids really look.
They look very good.
Very good.
They look very good, and parents have been a big part of that. And I know it hasn't been easy necessarily for people to find things and to purchase things, but it seems overall, just kind of as a parent getting around, it seems like things are going very well. I know probably administrators are, unfortunately, and teachers having to deal with some things, and that's, I guess, to be expected the first year. Hopefully that will diminish, but overall there just seems to be a high level of cooperation. We're very appreciative. So, and that's all I had to say this month. Dr. Welcome.
Well, I would like to echo some of Ms. Kinder's comments, particularly about the dress code. I think our students look great, and I'd like to thank the students and their parents, but I'd also like to thank our teachers and administrators for their efforts in terms of dealing with the dress code issue. I think we actually did very well. I was amazed at how well the students did, and appreciate that. They did really look nice. We've had a great start, I think, to the school year. Usually at this time of year I talk about enrollment. I would have to say at this point it looks steady and maybe slightly up a little bit. And we're always changing at this time of the year in terms of figuring out those adding and those dropping, but it looks like we may be slightly up in enrollment. Of course, as mentioned a while ago, would like to thank everybody involved in terms of getting the buildings ready. Franklin Elementary and the middle school and the junior high library and the high school. I know there were a lot of different people that worked on getting those buildings ready, and just really amazed, really. I was in some of them about a week before school was starting, and couldn't believe that we were going to be able to get them ready, but a lot of hard work by everybody involved, including teachers and our maintenance department and everybody else that helped. And so I'd like to thank so much for everybody that worked so hard in getting ready for school. This time of year, of course, we've started, there's a lot of different activities that are able to go to. I'd encourage everyone to go out and I hate to list these off, Dr. Callen, because I'll miss one, but soccer, cross country, tennis, swimming, football, volleyball. Did I miss one?
Softball.
Softball. My gosh, how could I forget softball? I was just trying to have them all memorized. Sorry about that. But would encourage you to go, everybody to go out and see one of these activities or several of these activities. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on right now. Like I said, I think we've gotten off to a great start, and look for more to come. But that's my report.
Thank you very much. Do we have a report from the CTA?
You just had to be a lot taller than me, and I could probably yell this. I'm Robin McKinley. I am Robin to Tim Stroder's Batman, and he was unable to be here tonight. And I have to say before I start, I'm a bus monitor on bus 12, and the bus driver is unbelievable. I mean, if I can't watch it and I can't see it, she is there right on top of it. And That used to be a rough bus to ride, but I have a blast every day riding that bus. And people think I'm insane for that, but I do. I look forward to that at the end of the day of riding that bus. So, but the CTA reports, faculty and staff at all schools have been busy preparing for the new school year and have spent several hours in professional development with focus on PBSI and professional learning communities. The high school continues to focus on formative assessments as a way to increase student learning. While there are still a few issues in the buildings, the transition to the new dress code has gone over smoothly with faculty and students alike. And being a parent, I love it because I don't have to help choose clothing in the morning. I don't have to say that's inappropriate. They do it themselves. Faculty and staff continue to celebrate the news of the increase in graduation rate. While everyone realizes there is still much work to be done, interventions that were put into place 4 years ago seem to be paying dividends in the area of student learning. Our school district has entered the corporate games this year, and many faculty and staff members plan to participate. The events will begin in September, promote healthy lifestyle, teamwork, participation, and fun for Cape Girardeau area businesses and employee-based organizations. So, any questions? Anybody want to ride bus 12 with me? You see,
Sounds like a blast.
It is a blast, and you know what was bad is when I first started, it was so disruptive. The only way I could get them to calm down is to make them sing Christmas songs, even in September. And when it got really loud, I would just say, "Okay, we broke out in Jingle Bells." And by Christmas, they were all sick of Christmas songs, and the behavior every year got a little better. And this year, from the very beginning, it's like the kids knew when we got on that bus, boys on one side, girls on the other. There's no disruption. I mean, every now and then we have to tell someone to sit down, but it's a different atmosphere on the bus. It really is.
There's an old adage: teachers, you behave the way you dress. And then dress code has helped in behavior.
I think it has. I think the kids feel better about themselves, and it promotes a lot of self-respect. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry.
About to make a motion.
Want to ride those 12? Next, we have board reports. The first being from legislation and MSBA. Mr. Call.
I think everybody's got a handout here. Wait a minute, we got the treasurer.
Did I skip? Oh, Clifton, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Let's go back.
I was like, Kyle was pointing at me. I thought, okay, what did I do?
Treasurer Finance report, please.
Okay. July 2012, this is the first report for the new 12-13 school year. First thing I do want to just point out, the beginning fund balance, as of July 1, this is an estimated balance. We are still working with the auditors, doing adjustments that will go through September. So these are very preliminary numbers. But the revenue and expense numbers are actual numbers for the month of July. We did bring in $1.49 million in revenues. Some of that, of course, is revenues that were receivables from June. Then our expenditures was $2.2 million. $1.2 million of that was for bond expenses as we're nearing, coming towards the end of the bond issue. So, of course, you will notice, or you probably noticed when you reviewed it, the salary and benefits, of course, are quite a bit smaller because in July we only have our 12-month custodial maintenance administrative staff that will actually receive salaries during that month. So, was there any specific questions that you might have had?
Thank you very much.
Oh,
sorry.
Talked a while ago about on the Mr. Bass starting to reassess. Our bonding capacity is 85 million, somewhere around there.
Yes.
How much do we have under bonds right now? Just estimate.
Yes, like you would ask that. We have 40 million plus another 5.9. We have approximately, it's about 65 million. That's really rough. And I can get you that exact number. I was just trying to run it over by, because we have the 2010s, which is the 40 million. We had the refunding that we just did, which was the 5.9. That was a 2011. We have a 2008, which is just a little over 2 million. And then we have another one. So, somewhere between 60, 65 million. And I know Stephen Nicholas is working on, and actually I know Neil was working with them as well, to determine where we need to be for our next bond issue. We're already working with them on that.
Thanks. Now to board reports. Mr. Call, legislation.
You should have a handout here on the prayer amendment that this is from MSBA off the website. You can go on there and get this yourself. This is what comes up first. On August the 7th, Missouri overwhelmingly approved an amendment to the Missouri Constitution regarding prayer and religious expression. And they have 5 bullet points here, and most of these that Dr. Walker told me a while ago already follow. Maybe the first one, I guess all the buildings will have to check to make sure they have the Bill of Rights conspicuous and legible in their buildings. The rest of these they probably do already. Students may express their religious beliefs in their assignments. Students cannot be required to participate in assignments or presentations that violate his or her religious beliefs. Students are allowed to pray on school grounds as long as the prayer is voluntary and not disruptive. And then some parts of this amendment will likely lead to litigation, which probably all of them will. And then a little reminder, keep in mind the First Amendment will trump the Missouri Constitution in many situations. And down at the bottom in that little square it says this analysis. If you go to the MSBA website and hit on that little that's in blue, that will go take you to a link. It has about 12 pages of explanations of all of these, and I didn't think we want to go over 12 pages of that right now. But that's the latest thing on MSBA. I might remind the annual conference is September 27th through 30th. Do we have everybody signed up to go yet? Or? Okay. Thursday through Sunday. Another one in October, Tuesday, October the 9th in Clayton is a collective bargaining seminar from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So it's just one day, go up, come back. That's worth 2 credits if anybody's interested. That's at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Clayton. And they don't have anything on the regional meetings yet. Have you been notified?
I don't think so.
No, I didn't know if they let you all know first. That's in October, though. They switched them. It was September. Back to October.
If you give me a second, I may have that.
And right now, I talked to Tony, and they will send us, I hope for the next meeting, what issues the delegates will vote on, and then I'll try to get your opinion on any of those. I have not received any yet. So I should get them before the next meeting, so if you all have some discussion or points on those, just let me know. But I have not received anything yet. And then I guess we're ready for...
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's Board Report for the month of September. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at the proposal to raise Missouri's tobacco tax and provide additional money for education. The measure will appear as Proposition B on the November ballot. It would raise Missouri's lowest in the nation cigarette tax by 73 cents a pack and would generate an estimated $280 million a year in state revenue, half of which would go to Missouri's public schools. The revenue from the proposal designated for K-12 education would be distributed through the foundation formula until the formula is fully funded. Then the revenue would be distributed to school districts throughout the state on a per-pupil basis. Misty Snodgrass with the American Cancer Society in Missouri says the initiative contains safeguards to ensure the money will be spent as voters intend.
In the language of the initiative, you'll find that we create separate trust funds for this money to go into so that it cannot be swept from general revenue purposes. We also say that this should be not to be treated as supplanting money. We went pretty far to acknowledge that that was a concern that voters would have and to put in some safeguards in the measure.
The American Cancer Society is leading a coalition of health, education, and business groups supporting the tobacco tax increase. That coalition includes the Missouri School Boards Association. For more information on the tobacco tax increase proposal, you can watch the complete interview with Misty Snodgrass posted on the MSBA website or visit the coalition's website address on your screen. Another way to increase state revenue available to fund Missouri's public schools would be to rein in out-of-control state spending on tax credits. Missouri has a total of 61 tax credit programs, of which 47 are currently active. Those programs cost the state about $600 million a year and make up about 8% of expenditures in the state budget, and that percentage is growing. State Senator Brad Lager of Savannah told the MSBA Delegate Assembly meeting in June that some reasonable limits on tax credits would free up state revenue for other essential services, such as public education.
The reason that this is becoming what I believe to be a vital issue that has to have resolution is because if resolution is not met, if you think times are tight today, it's only going to get worse. And if you look at what has happened over the last 3 to 4 years, you know, everyone wants to talk about the foundation formula and how it's been protected and all these types of things, but we have decimated the transportation line item. We eliminated career ladder. We decimated early childhood programming funding. I mean, all the things that build a true foundation for economic growth have been dramatically impacted.
Missouri is first in the nation in providing historic preservation tax credits and second in the nation in providing low-income housing tax credits. The Education Roundtable, made up of the major statewide education associations, including MSBA, is making tax credit reform a major legislative priority for the coming year. Tax credit reform will be the topic of discussion at MSBA's fall regional meetings coming up in late October and early November. You can register for the fall regional meeting in your area through the MSBA website. We all want to make sure our school grounds and facilities are as safe as possible for both students and adults. MSBA and the Missouri Center for Education Safety now have developed a school safety and security assessment program to help you do just that. CES advisor Preston Bass, who has considerable experience in law enforcement and school safety, tells us the assessment is comprehensive and takes into account the unique nature of each school building and school campus.
Everything from foliage, shrubbery, parking, street configuration, campus configuration, access into a campus, into a building. And so again, start to do my observations from that point, and then internally, of course. And so, you know, I'll check everything such as, do they have surveillance cameras? How many? How accessible is the campus? Is it too accessible? How accessible in terms of people that should be there, should not be there?
Following the assessment, school district officials are presented with a detailed report, including suggestions for how to improve safety in the school district. It's up to the local school district to determine what, if any, corrective action to take. For more information on the School Safety and Security Assessment Program, contact the Missouri Center for Education Safety by calling the phone number on your screen or visiting the CES website. The Missouri Center for Education Safety is a joint effort of MSBA and the Missouri Department of Public Safety. By the way, the Center for Education Safety is sponsoring a one-day workshop on effective strategies to prevent bullying in school on October 18th at the Lake of the Ozarks. You can visit the MSBA website to register for that event. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
Thursday, November 1st at Delta.
Thank you.
Secret link to you.
I'm on the Region 13 committee.
Anything else, Don?
That's it.
Question to follow up what was mentioned there by Ms. Van Diemen. She mentioned the top 100 schools. Do you know how they figure that?
Well, they took the SIG schools, the ones under the school improvement grant. It was the lowest 50 schools in the state. So they picked those out already. So those are part of that group. So I felt pretty good that none of our buildings would qualify because of those schools already in place.
I missed it. I thought they were rewarding the top performing schools in the
Oh,
state.
they are. The top performing ones would be on the calculation method that, see, they're not going to do distinguished for the next 3 years. Isn't that what Margie told us?
I suppose what they were talking about was the new scoring guide on
Yes.
MSIP 5, which is, we talked about the APR tonight being scored with the MSIP 4. The MSIP 5 scoring system will be, I guess, released in September, October.
Right.
It'll take the same data and score it based on MSIP 5. And it's a point system, and I think the schools...
140 points. I have ours calculated right now.
I think they go by that point system in terms of identifying those top schools.
So it's something that is still to be calculated.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next report is from the Public School Foundation.
Just two things to report this month. The next event that they will be hosting is the Foundation Golf Tournament, which is September 24th. It's at the Cape Country Club. It'll be an afternoon tea time. Lunch starts at noon, tee off at 1. And I believe there are still opportunities for teams or individuals to join in if they wish. You can check out the website either through the Cape Public Schools website or the Foundation's website to sign up. And then the other is October 22nd, which is the next Farm to Fork dinner, and there'll be more details to come about that function. So that's it.
Thanks. Next is is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Agenda is approved. We have 3 business items. First motion is to accept a bid for employee benefits consultant from the Daniel and Henry Company for the 2012-2013 fiscal year, with the option to renew for an additional 2 years, and to authorize the superintendent to negotiate and execute a contract on behalf of the board.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Dr. Welcome.
Well, basically, and Ms. Clifton was kind of in charge of this. I'll let her make some comments in terms of we did bid this service out, and would you like to make some comments at this time?
We did follow the formal bid process where we placed bids, closed bids. We received 4 bids at bid opening. We did an evaluation of all 4, looking at years of experience, whether they have had the experience with government or school agency experience. We also looked at their fees. And as well, along with their fees, we looked at the services they are providing with those fees. After evaluating the 4, the Daniel and Henry Company, they do have over 17 years experience with government agencies. They came in at $27,000, which was the low bid among the 4. And some of their services that they actually offer along with the $27,000 is, I think I did list it, you saw it, but they do offer like an employer resource portal which is something that we currently do not have, and not all of the companies we reviewed offer that. They also offer an employee resource portal, so if the employee has a question regarding what's covered, what's not covered, or their prescriptions, they have a place they can go to and talk directly with someone from their company that is experienced and knowledgeable in that area. They also have a warehouse, which actually I liked that. It's an employer resource for budgeting purposes, being able for us to do some benefit analysis. We would have access to our loss ratios, our claims, kind of more real time, I guess. And I think we do have 2 representatives here. So if I am saying this wrong, please let me know. But from my understanding, the way this works is we have a little more we have more real-time access to our data for us to be able to make more, to kind of project out more where are we going to be as far as our possible rates in the next year for budgeting purposes. So they had several things that the other companies don't offer us, kind of an additional service that will be provided to us as part of the package.
Would you two like to come up, introduce yourselves, and offer anything, if there's any other information you'd like to?
I'm Tom Veers with Daniel and Henry. This is Kathy Reiminger. Part of the team here in Cape Girardeau, and we're happy to put in a bid, and we look forward to working with the school district and helping you guys make good decisions about your benefits and do something that's going to benefit both the employees in terms of what they get out of their plan, also the school district in terms of the cost and what makes sense for you. We think we've got some good things we've looked at the plans a little bit already and some suggestions to make that could help going forward.
Any questions?
I just have one question. On the transition from one consulting company to another with our current contract that we have with Coventry, how does that?
Actually, the Coventry was notified that as of June 30th, we were no longer with the other consultant, and that we were in the bid process. So they're just waiting for us to let them know who our consultant is. So we would actually notify them tomorrow, and then the goal would be for Daniel and Henry to contact Coventry within this week, start working on and analyzing where we're at, our loss ratios, to go ahead and start moving forward to start a bid process for the January 2013. Our goal would actually to be, if my ultimate goal could be done, I would love to be able to have someone in mind by October. Of course, that may or may not be possible, but so that way our employees would have plenty of time to make considerations as far as what they want to do for the next year. So, but we're looking at, once approved this week, Coventry's just kind of waiting for us to notify them.
So at that point, once we are able to accept them, they could be kind of brought up to speed, or are they already somewhat familiar with some of our issues we've had?
And they have been talking with Lisa Smith, who is our benefit specialist, and they've actually talked to her quite a bit, I believe, through this process. And then they are familiar, because part of the information that they receive through the RFP is some of our data as far as our employee base, our needs, and things like that. So they are already somewhat familiar with our information.
It'll be pretty easy to come up to speed, because we did have a conversation with Lisa before we put in a bid to kind of get an idea of where the school was, where he wanted to go, and what the district's thoughts were on the current plans and how they're working out and how they're accepted by the employees. And got a chance to look at the plans. I've got a family member that works for the school district, so I've seen what the plans are, helped her make a decision about the plan she picked as an employee, and so we'll be up to speed pretty quickly.
And one thing I did do is have Lisa be kind of a main contact with them, because as our benefit specialist, she's on that day-to-day base contact with all of our employees. So she knows the needs out there more so than I would. So she was able to kind of get a good feel, more so with contacting them directly.
I'm glad to hear there's a transition plan in place, because I know there's been some significant challenges with our current plan, and I just don't want to make it
Yes,
any
and
more
they,
difficult for our employees.
I believe Lisa has made you aware of those situations.
Sure.
As part of that
That's good.
process prior to even placing the bid, I think.
Do you currently have a relationship with Coventry?
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah, we're a top level brokerage firm for all the different companies in Missouri, and really the three primary ones in Cape Girardeau are Coventry, United Healthcare, and Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. So we're at the highest level with all three and have great relationships with them, and we're going to bring all three to the table and help you guys decide what's best for the school district. It's price, benefit, and network. Those are the three things you kind of got to stand your plan on, and you can't lean one way too far, or you'll end up with an issue. And also, I think we'll do a good job of communicating whatever we help you decide on to the employees and making sure they understand the plans. They have go-to people in our office to ask benefit questions of. And what we told Lisa was, we see ourselves as your human resources department. If your employees have questions, send them our way and tell them if they don't get the help they need to come back and complain that we're not doing what we said we would do. So we want to be held accountable, and we do that with all of our clients, and we think we'll be able to handle it with you guys.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. All right then. All those in favor of accepting the bid from Daniel and Henry Company and authorizing the superintendent to negotiate and execute the contract on behalf of the board, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next business item is to authorize the superintendent to negotiate a contract with High Tech Communications to complete work category PA 11, Auditorium Audio Visual Systems, bid package number 10, Performing Arts, with a cost of $168,157, and to execute the contract on behalf of the board.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
I just have one question. Do we have other bidders that were disqualified? Do you know? These were the only two?
Only two bids received. Nobody was qualified.
I believe this is the last major bid.
Thank you. This is the last one.
And appreciate all the work that has come before this, but this is kind of a milestone, I think, for us in terms of the process of all the construction, and commend Mr. Glass and McCarthy in that capacity. Mr. Glass, do you have any other comments about this or any questions?
Not really. We're real happy with where the bid came in at. We had a good design, and High Tech Communications provided us a list with the equipment, the consultant that we used, the Bond Wolf had hired. We're very pleased with the equipment that High Tech Communications had proposed to install in the Performing Arts Center, so I'm very pleased to bring this bid forward.
Where did that come in lieu of budget?
We had a budget of about 150, so we absorbed the extra 18,000. Really wasn't anywhere to cut. We could cut equipment, but we didn't really want to do that. So that's where it stands.
Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor of authorizing the superintendent to negotiate the contract with High Tech Communications and to execute the contract on behalf of the board, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. Last business item is to approve naming the new library at Central Junior High School the Lewis Lorimer Library.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Anybody have any questions?
As I put in the rationale for the motion, just a little history lesson, I guess. Actually, in 1820, Lewis Lorimer and family deeded property to Cape Girardeau for the establishment of a public school. Property became known as the Schultz School, and as a result of the sale of the Schultz School in 2008, a permanent trust was established, which reflected the value of the contribution that Lewis Lorimer had made. March 28, 2011, the Board of Education approved a resolution which allowed the use of the Lorimer Trust to assist in funding the construction of a new library located at the junior high school. And as a result of that, we would, and in accordance with School Board Policy FF, it's our recommendation to name the new library at the junior high school the Lewis Lorimer Library. Actually talked with Dr. Nickel a little bit about this as well, professor up at the university. I think this is the bicentennial year of Lewis Lorimer's death. They've had some celebrations and things that have happened, I think, in the spring, but he thought too it would be very fitting and was very excited about the naming of the library. I think there's actually a book coming out too that somebody's writing. I think Linda Nash is writing a book about Lewis Lorimer.
If we do this, would we actually put some sort of signage on the exterior of the building naming that or not?
We really haven't talked about that at this point. I know that we had planned on having like a trophy case area or an area inside that would be designated to some artifacts and things or whatever we could put together about in recognizing Lewis Lorimer. We really haven't talked very much in terms of putting the name on the outside.
We're going to have a dedication ceremony.
Yes. One of the things, I should have mentioned this a while ago, we're still working on doing some ribbon cuttings and things for different facilities that we have. Mr. Robertson's actually been working on that, I think, and for this particular facility, we would also have, and probably in conjunction with that, a dedication ceremony where we probably might invite Linda Nash, for example, who seems to have actually background and studied Lewis Lorimer to provide some information as well. But we would plan some type of an activity. We kind of waited until after school got started, so things kind of calmed down a little bit, and we got the buildings open and everything. So we will be having those scheduled.
I think it'd be a neat idea to, because he was such a relative part of the establishment of Cape Girardeau, I think there are still some relatives of his
I asked Dr. Nickel about that, and he's going to send me a list of some people that are relatives of the Lorimer family that we could invite to something like that.
Because one lives out in Louisiana, came for the Red House dedication.
Seems like a really neat trip.
Yes, I think it is real excited about this.
Coincidental this time.
Yes.
I would be in favor also of putting some type of signage up on
Brick Park.
right around, kind of a wrap around at the top.
Photo courtesy of our own Steve Robertson.
How long
Great
did it take
job.
you to plant all those flowers?
Yeah, that was
50
I can
years.
tell you, that was German Smith. Okay, any other discussion? All right, all in favor then of approving the naming of the new library at CJS, the Lewis Lorimer Library, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. 3. That is it for business. Is there any information or proposal from board member?
I got something to cover. I gave out earlier that actually started with Dr. Copeland, and a question I had from her. And the top is a printout of the complete list of high schools in the state of Missouri. You give that a look. It's the numerical rating where the high school stands. And then, as a result of an email I got and also a comment on the Southeast Missourian, somebody pointed out a website called School Digger. And actually, for someone looking to find a school, you look up and you can pull up the individual elementary school or high school or just the district and find out where that school stands within the state. There's some printouts inside here Dr. Copeland provided, and I have another one that puts in a succinct one-page thing that I'll send to everybody as a PDF. And the reason I was asking Dr. Copeland about how they were computing this 100 best schools, we have one school that rates 52nd, and it's an elementary school. So I'm interested to find out how they do that calculation. We have a couple schools that rate, and that's 52nd out of 1,051 elementary schools. We have a couple that rate in the 190s, and then we have a couple down at 920 and 960. And these numbers are meaningful to us because this is kind of how the world talks behind our back. If you can go to the internet and find this data that we look at through DESE and we don't necessarily see it drawn the same fashion. I don't know that I've ever seen a list of all the elementary schools by standing throughout the state. The high schools we've seen, I've seen the districts listed throughout the state in order of standing. So that's something we should be aware of. That's our reputation out there beyond the schools, or beyond what we can read. When we read our reports, it talks about how far we are around the average. This computes us against all the other schools in that particular category. The only one you won't find is our middle school, because we're not a true middle school. We're 2 grades, so for some reason they don't really combine that well. So you have that for something to read. If you got any questions, let me know, or you can ask Dr. Copeland also.
And that School Digger information is based on math and ComArt scores together.
It's a whole lot more readable than the DESE site. In it, you can mouse over, and it'll let you know what the state average is, or what percentile that particular school is in. So it's it's more user friendly for somebody who's trying to find a school.
Thanks. Anything else? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion about that? All in favor then of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.